Good day, everyone, and to my fellow classmates, and especially to Ma'am Irish. Good day. So, I am Isaac Culain Montilla, the first presenter of Group 8. So, our topic is all about the assessment of one's teaching practice. So, the reflective practice using learners' attainment data, there are two: the learners' test score and the second, learners' non-test data and other information. So before we dive into the world of assessment, let me first share the objectives. So at the end of the lesson, we will identify the meaning and advantage of reflective practice using learner attainment data, differentiate the various types of non-test data. Lastly, reflect on the advantage and disadvantage of non-test data. So today, let's discuss first what is assessment. So let me first read the definition. So assessment is an evaluation or estimation of a quality or ability of a person or student or learners in measuring their knowledge or skills. So to elaborate this idea, assessment is a process of evaluating a student's knowledge and skills in a particular area of study. So it is used to measure the student's academic performance, student's progress, and mastery of a subject. Assessments can be in the form of quizzes, exams, assignments, essays, or any other evaluation tool that measures a student's understanding of a particular subject. So the main purpose of assessment is to provide feedback to the student, teacher, and parents to help guide the learning process. In addition, it also helps to identify areas where the student may need more support, as well as areas where they excel. Another definition for assessment is it is an integral part of instruction, determining whether or not the goal of education are being met. Good teaching practice is a key influence students' learning desired outcomes and primary goal of higher educational institution. So it means that assessment allows for educators to determine whether or not the goals of education are being met, making it an integral part of instruction. Assessment is not only important for testing students, but also ensuring that they are learning the material and understand their desired outcomes. Good teaching practices should heavily incorporate assessment into their teaching methods, as it is a primary goal of higher institutional education to help students achieve their desired learning outcomes. So by assessing student understanding regularly, educators can make adjustments through their teaching methods and ensure that students are receiving the best possible education. So there are three types of assessment. As you can see, assessment for learning, assessment of learning, and lastly, the assessment as learning. So first, let me discuss what is assessment for learning. Assessment for learning, or AFL, is an ongoing process that happens throughout a course or teaching period. This type of assessment is used to identify students' strengths, areas of improvement, and to adjust teaching methods based on their ongoing performance. So assessment for learning is used to support and guide students in their learning, and it includes formative assessments such as quizzes, classwork, and homework assignments. So let's proceed to the other type of assessment, which is the assessment of learning, or AOL. So assessment of learning is used to evaluate students' learning outcomes at the end of a course or teaching period. This type of assessment is used to determine the progress and achievement of students, and it includes summative assessments such as exams and final projects. Assessment of learning provide a snapshot of the student's abilities at a given point, and it is used to make decisions regarding progression, graduation, and future learning opportunities. Assessment as learning. Assessment as learning, or AAL, is a collaborative process between students and teachers. AAL focuses on developing students' metacognitive skills, enabling them to reflect upon and take ownership of their learning progress. In this type of assessment, students are encouraged to self-assess their learning, set goals, and monitor their progress. In addition, assessment as learning includes activities such as peer reviews, self-evaluation, and feedback from teachers.
Good day, everyone. My name is Aracid Levares Somoso, and for the continuation of the report, we are going to know the meaning of reflective practice. Now, what is reflective practice? Reflective practice is one of the simplest way of practice, since it only refers to self-learning and knowing your strengths and weaknesses, especially in academic matter. For example, self-study. Another way of achieving is through spaced repetition. By repeatedly learning a particular topic, constant reflection, and how we can apply those knowledge. Now, let's proceed to the advantage of reflective practice. Number 1 is it helps the teacher to take informed action that can be justified and explained to others, and that can be used to guide further action. In a simple term, reflective practice helps teachers to create smart action that is justifiable and fair to others, that supports and guide other actions. Number 2 is it allows the teacher to adjust and respond to issues. It helps teachers to go with the flow on what is happening around them, and it helps them create a justifiable response about a certain issue. Number 3, it helps teachers to become aware of their underlying beliefs and assumptions about learning and teaching. Number 4 is it helps teachers promote a positive learning environment. Number 5 is it allows teachers to consciously develop a repertoire of relevant and context-specific strategies and techniques. 6.1 is it helps teachers look at their teaching in a broader institutional, social, and political context, and do appreciate that many factors influence students' learning. Now, what is learner attainment data? Learner attainment data is all about evidences and results of various assessments used in the monitoring and evaluating learners' progress and achievements. It also allows the teacher to determine the strengths and weaknesses of a student, and with the result of the data, the teacher can make or take actions on ways to improve teaching styles. So, as I said earlier, the advantage of this are to reflect practice for the continuous learning for students. This as a part of authentic assessment, since it talks about reflecting their learning. That also goes to demonstrating their knowledge for applying their skills acquired, knowledge for their future decisions. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Good day, everyone, especially to Mom Irish. So, I'm the next reporter. This time, we are going to discuss about learners' test scores. So, what is learners' test scores? Scores are derived through statistical models and scaling practices that can be misleading about student achievement, and this can have an effect on education policy. According to a newly released paper, also learners' test scores offer a quantifiable measure of performance, aiding in assessing, understanding, pinpointing areas for improvement, and informing educators and parents. Also, interpretation methods such as norm reference and criterion reference add depth while distinguishing between raw and scale scores provides varied perspectives on academic progress. So, what is test score? A test score is a piece of information, usually a number that conveys the performance of an examining on a test. Test score is a numerical representation of person's performance on an exam conveying information about their abilities in that particular assessment. We are normally reference interpretation, means that the score conveys meaning about the examining with regards to their standing among others examines. This interpretation assesses the test score by comparing it to the scores of other examinees, providing insights into the individual's standing relative to their peers. A criterion reference interpretation that the score conveys information about the examining with regard to specific subject matter, regardless of other examinees' score. So, criterion reference interpretation, in contrast, criterion reference interpretation focuses on the score's relevance to specific subject matter, disregarding comparisons to other examinees. It highlights the individual's performance in relation to predefined criteria rather than their peers. So we have here two types of test scores. First is raw scores. It's a score without any sort of adjustment or transformation, such as the simple number of questions answered correctly. So raw scores example, we have a student answers 20 out of 30 questions correctly on a math test. So the explanation is the raw score is the straightforward count of correct answers without any adjustment. Just like the students answers correctly 20 out of 30 questions. In this case, the raw score is 20, indicating the number of questions the student answered correctly. We have here a scale score. It's the result of some transformations applied to the raw score. I think this is the raw score. There's a typo. Applied to the raw score such as in relative grading. So scale scores, for example, a student's raw score of 75 on a history test is converted to scale scores of 90 after applying adjustments. Explanation: scale scores involve transformation to provide a standardized representation. If the raw score is 75, but adjustments such as considering the test difficulty result in a scale score of 90. It reflects a relative grading system where scores are modified to align with a standardized scale. How test scores are used. Schools and parents use information gleaned from these test scores to see how students perform and if any adjustments for future reference are in needed. Test scores play a crucial role as schools and parents leverage this information to gauge students' performance. The scores serve as a yardstick for understanding how well students have fared academically. Additionally, these scores inform decisions regarding necessary adjustments for future educational strategies, ensuring a tailored approach to address individual learning needs. That's all for my part. This is Ranan J. Duka. Thank you.
Good day everyone. To continue the report, we have here learners, non-test data, and other information. So according to here, non-tests are instrument that doesn't involve a test. So it can be further for learning for students or learners. So this focuses on learners' classroom assessment and learning experiences. So basically, non-test instruments are tools or methods used to gather information about a learner's progress or understanding without administering a traditional test or quiz. So these instruments are used to assess students' knowledge, skills, and abilities in a more holistic and authentic way. So an example of an non-test instrument is a portfolio assessment. So where students compile a collection of their work over a period of time to showcase their learning and progress. So this allows students to demonstrate their skills and understanding through a variety of formats rather than a single test score. So portfolio assessment provide a more comprehensive and personalized view of a student's abilities and growth. So the second, a non-test is often an alternate assessment. So teachers assist the learners to grasp how well they understand and determine the topics of the lessons. So this means that non-test assessment is a type of evaluation that does not involve traditional tests or exams. So but instead of focuses on alternative means of gauging a student's understanding and progress. One example of the non-test assessment could be a project. So where students create a visual presentation of a concept they have learned, such as the diagramma or poster, to demonstrate their understanding in a hands-on way. So moving forward, according to Raganit et al. 2010, these days do not force the students to give the responses, but rather allow the students to manifest their acquired knowledge and skills from the subjects. So basically, this means that first rather should create opportunities for students to demonstrate their understanding and abilities in a more natural and authentic way, rather than simply requiring them to provide specific responses. So, for instance, instead of asking the students to list the causes of World War II, a teacher could design a project where students simulate a historical debate between key figures of the time, showcasing their knowledge of the subject matter through role-playing and critical thinking. So this approach allows students to show their understanding in a more creative and engaging way. So next, we have the types of non-test data, but I'm not going to dig it deeper since the description of it are well explained and it is understandable. So we have first the homework. It is a practice exercise that usually plays part of a grading systems. So sometimes it's a reading, research, or homework that covers a topic or lesson, and it might be used for more hands-on practical work. Next, we have projects. This is usually designed for students to use their skills and develop their creativity, so most of the time, projects are given early for the completion. Next, we have portfolios. These are the collections of projects and giving activities to students. It exhibits their efforts, achievements, and their progress. Next, we have debates. These are activity that features two opposing views about some issues and defend their side or position. So much for this, we have also demonstration of visual enactment of a selected lesson and activity. We have games. This engages the students to enjoy their activities with learning and review the topics of or lesson rather. We have also oral and written reports. We have teachers assign some topics to students and report it in oral or written format. Cartooning, these are activity drawer about the important situation, issues, and ideas. Next, we have notes. Students should write a lesson for them to have or possess some notes to read. We have also internship. This trains students, company, or organization so they can process base experience in a game, some qualifications to their future work. So I hope you are able to take note of significant information that will explain to you about the non-test data. So moving forward, we have also the advantages and disadvantages of the non-test data. So first, for the advantages we have of the non-test data, um, are assessing in a multiple perspectives. So this means, um, so imagine a group of students are assigned a project to create a presentation on a specific topic from multiple perspectives. The assessment could look something like this. So, first we have the content perspective or the evaluation or to evaluate the accuracy rather and depth of the information presented in the presentation. We have also the communication perspective or the assess the clarity and organization of the presentation. And the third one is the collaboration perspective. Evaluate how well the group members work together to complete the project. And we have also the critical thinking perspective. They analyze students' ability to analyze and evaluate information in their presentation. And the fifth one is the creativity perspective or to consider the originality and innovation demonstrated in the presentation. So by assessing the project from these multiple perspectives, educators or teachers can gain a more holistic understanding of the students' performance and provide feedback that addresses a range of skills and competencies. So I hope you are able to take note of that information. So the second one is the develop a measurable criterion. So an test method for assessing students' understanding of a concept might involve a project-based assessment where students demonstrate their knowledge through a real-world application. So the accuracy of this method can be measured by comparing the students' performance on the projects to their performance on a traditional written test or the same concept. Next, we have Student Center, promote creativity, engage full life learning. So the non-test data are both beneficial for students and teachers. So students were able to use critical thinking skills and creativity in the classroom settings. For instance, students will use their skills in crafting their projects creatively. So moving forward, we have also, let's move to the disadvantages of the non-test data. So we have first that we have time consuming must be carefully designed to students and bad behaviors of students. So in time consuming, when an activity or task requires a significant amount of time to complete, it can be considered time consuming. For example, a project that requires extensive research and multiple drafts to complete would be considered as time consuming for students, and mostly it can be applicable for a projects, portfolios like that. So we have also um, must be carefully designed to students. So this refers to the need for activities and tasks to be thoughtfully planned and tailored to meet the specific needs and abilities of students. For example, a science experiment must be carefully designed to ensure that students of different learning styles and abilities can be successfully complete it. No? So next we have bad behaviors of students. So this can refer to a range of negative behaviors exhibited by students, such as disruptive behavior, lack of participation, disrespect towards peers or teachers, and cheating. So each of these behaviors can have a significant impact on the learning environment and the overall success of a classroom. Addressing and managing these behaviors effectively is essential for creating a positive and productive learning environment. So I think that's conclude my report. I hope you guys were able to learn something on my presentation. Thank you.